Right on.
You got to play one of the greatest villains I think in DC continuity ever.
Thank you.
For this piece. I mean, getting into that mindset, that villainous mindset. What was that like for you? And somebody who can run really fast.
Well, yeah, totally. Well, villains are always more fun to play. I mean, he's not so much a villain as a guy who's. I like to look at him as conflicted. I never try to label the characters I play. I think that's too easy, just as it is in life. I think he's a deeply conflicted guy who's going through a lot of let's put it that way, some deep personal issues, okay? He had a spat with his ex, and she got that one. And it kind of got blown up out of proportion, So, yeah.
Was there any sort of preconceived things that you had to drop in order to come in and play a character that's kind of different?
Well, I read a lot of the comics to bring myself back up to speed because I hadn't read them since I was a kid. And then I watched a lot of the movies that Warner Brothers have done so far to bring myself up to speed on what was expected of me in terms of character and what kind of quality of film I was making. And so that was my preparation, really. And this is not your kids, this is not the Aquaman that we grew up with as a kid. This is a different Aquaman, obviously, as I've stated. He's going through a lot of personal stuff. So it's a pretty violent piece, very intense piece. I love the concept of it. Paradox, the whole thing of Flash going back in time and the new time continuum and all of them going through going through their own personal stuff. So it's a very unique perspective on Justice League. And I think that's why Warner Brothers got excited about it, because we haven't seen this before.
Did you have a favorite scene to work on personally that you're in, obviously?
Well, yeah, I think the battle scenes with Wonder Woman are pretty powerful and pretty fun. She looks amazing. She wields an axe, and it's like it's the Diana Themyscira we want to see. She's got her full battle gear on. And it's cool.
She kicks some ass, though.
I know. Yeah. Well, but don't forget, she's not cool. She's Wonder Woman. She carries an axe in her purse. You don't want to mess with her on a bad day. She'll lop your head right off.
We were just talking to Andrea, and she said the last time that she worked with you was when you played Hamlet in Vicky and the Brain.
Thank you.
Which was I remember that episode. Fantastic episode.
Thank you.
But how would you compare
Hamlet
to Aquaman?
It's funny you mentioned that. I brought the exact same preparation to these two roles. I got to work with what the fun was getting to work with Andrea. Now, we've known each other now almost. We were joking about today, about 20 years we've known each other, and we haven't worked as much as we'd like to with each other. But she gives me a call every couple of years and says, "This is what I'm up to. Would you like to come join us and stuff?" And this is the first time I've worked with her on a Warner Brothers animated series. So I was thrilled because I love their shows. I mean, that's the geek in me. I'll watch these shows if they're on. I may not own copies, but if it's on, I'll watch it. You know what I mean? Because they're so brilliantly animated. And they're so cool. They remind me of being a kid again, like reading the comics all over again as a kid. I love what they did with Batman. I think it was brilliant. So when she called me and said, well, you haven't got our Aquaman, would you like to come play him? I was like, sure.
To Aquaman, that's kind of surprising considering his history is kind of somewhat of the joke of the superhero.
I know, I've heard that so many times. Like, how much crime is there underwater? And why does he never go to Japanese restaurants?
But you were actually excited to come play Aquaman before you knew sort of the...
Oh, absolutely. I knew who he was. I mean, I obviously knew the character. Obviously, who doesn't? You have to be living under a rock in Bulgaria not to know.
Well, this particular version of it is slightly different.
Like I said, I didn't know. I hadn't read Paradox. I hadn't read Flashpoint. I didn't know about this. That I had to be brought up to speed on. I wasn't up to speed on that because it came out in 2011.
Yes.
Yeah. So caught me a bit by surprise. But when I read it, I was blown away. I thought, wow. Like I said, I thought what a great way to approach these characters, to throw them all a curveball, you know.
What's it like when you're voicing the fight sequences? That's a
Fight
different...
sequences, you have to do the fight sequences at the end of your entire session. You can't, I've learned over the years that when you're doing fight sequences, you don't want to do them at the beginning. You can wear yourself out quite a lot because it actually involves a lot of physical work. You can't just make oomphs and ahs sound like real. You actually really have to do a lot of jumping around, and you have to get quite physical. There's some Foley work involved actually as a voiceover actor. So and you can lose your voice very quickly because they obviously want you to give it everything. And when you're screaming, you have to really scream. And they want to usually have about 1,000 different screams that they want to have on record, so they can pick and choose, you know, have a smorgasbord to work from. So you have to really wait till, they usually save it to the very end. Yeah.
Were you able to do any of the scenes with other actors, or was it all?
It's sad. No, I got to do a couple, well, let's see, I did a little bit with Ron Perlman and Dana Delele and Sam. And I think that was the first day I worked. We all came in and did stuff together, which is unique because usually they bring you in and you work there alone, except with the director and the voiceover director. But this was a unique occasion where I got to see these guys, which was nice.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you
I think
very much.
Thank you.
For giving the signals.